The F-150 Lightning was met with a lot of fanfare when it was first introduced, and reservations quickly sold out. It's also received a lot of accolades from publishers, car reviewers, car enthusiasts, and yet at the same time there are a lot of people that are skeptical of the F-150 Lightning and other all-electric pickups. In today's video, I want to talk about some of the pros and cons of the Lightning and ultimately answer the question, should you buy the all-new Ford F-150 Lightning? The first reason you should consider buying the Lightning is its performance. The numbers on this truck are very impressive, especially when compared with other full-size trucks. It's available with either a 98 or 131 kilowatt-hour battery pack. This is the 98 or the standard range model, which offers 230 miles of range. The extended model offers 320 miles. With this battery pack, you're seeing 452 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque. On the extended range models, that increases to 580 horsepower, and you get the same 775 pound-feet of torque. The horsepower number is quite a bit higher than what you're going to see on most gasoline-powered trucks. The torque number is way above, and so as a result, this truck is a lot of fun to drive. It's incredibly quick. 0 to 60 time is going to range from about 4 to 5 seconds, and just results in a really exciting driving experience and plenty of power. Another really great reason to consider the Lightning is its handling. The handling on this truck is very impressive and far superior to your standard gasoline-powered pickup. There's two reasons for that. The first one is that because of the electric powertrain, this is actually an all-wheel drive truck. So as opposed to, your typical full-size truck that is rear-wheel drive focused, but then also maybe has the added capability of four-wheel drive, this is all-wheel drive all the time. And as a result, that means that it offers much better handling on dry pavement conditions, but it's also superior when it comes to driving in snow and ice because the truck is able to transfer power as needed to where it needs to go, and ultimately results in better power delivery to the pavement. The other reason that the handling is really impressive on the Lightning is because of the battery pack. This truck has a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Again, your typical gasoline-powered truck is heavy in the front, it's light in the rear, and in certain driving conditions such as snow, you may find that it fishtails quite a bit. That is not the case with the Lightning. It is very planted, drives a lot more like a sports car where it's got that really low center of gravity, even weight distribution, and as a result, the handling is extremely impressive. The next reason to consider the Lightning is its capability, which is very much on par with other full-size trucks in the segment. On my standard range model, the payload capacity is 2,000 pounds and tow capacity is 7,700 pounds. On the extended range model, you'll see the payload drop to 1,800 pounds, but the tow capacity increases to 10,000 pounds. Both of those numbers very good for a full-size truck in a crew cab short bed configuration. Now the asterisk is range, which is definitely a concern depending on how you're using the vehicle. If you're traveling really long distances, if charging stations aren't readily available, or if you're going to be doing a lot of heavy towing over long distances, those would be the reasons that I would urge you to consider something other than the Lightning, or at a minimum, at least go with the extended range model. It's kind of like starting out a road trip with a tank of gas that's half full if you've got the 230 mile range that you have on my truck here. Now again, it's not to say that the truck isn't perfectly capable of hauling heavy loads both in the bed of the truck or behind it. It's just that that range is significantly impacted. Along with that, a number of other things that also affect the range. All-terrain tires have been shown to have a pretty significant impact on range for electric vehicles, as much as 20%. Going with a larger tire or a smaller wheel are also going to have a significant impact on the range. And then last but not least, weather conditions also have a significant impact on range. And so on a cold day like today, probably about 30 degrees outside right now, the range on my truck is going to drop by about 30% compared to normal warm conditions. So again, definitely a concern if you're traveling those really long distances without the ability to charge or the patience to charge. So definitely a lot of capability with the Lightning, but with some exceptions. Another reason to consider the Lightning is the cost of ownership. Now, electric vehicles in general are quite a bit more expensive than their gas counterparts. But that's one of the advantages of the Lightning, especially in the lower end trim packages, is that that gap's not as wide as we're typically used to seeing with electric vehicles. And I think that the pricing on the Lightning is actually quite respectable, especially on the Pro and the XLT models. Now, once you get to the Lariat model like this, or the top end Platinum model, that benefit is going to start to reduce somewhat. But even on my Lariat model, which is very similar to the other truck that I have at home, which is a 2022 Toyota Tundra, the two trucks are very similarly equipped. And once I factor in the tax credits that were available both at the state and federal level, the price on this actually comes in a little bit less than the price of my Tundra. And so the upfront cost isn't all that bad on the Lightning. And then of course the other benefit is that the cost of ownership once you take possession is going to be significantly less on the electric vehicle. First of all, because of fueling costs, a lot cheaper to run an electric vehicle than a gas vehicle. On my Tundra, my monthly gas bill has been about $300 to $400 a month. Driving the Lightning a similar amount of mileage, I'm seeing my electricity bill sitting at about $30 to $40 a month. So about 10% of what I'm paying in gas. And the other thing that's really great about electric vehicles, at least for the time being, is that there's a lot of free charging stations out there. And so you're actually able to charge up for free, which is a crazy concept. I'm sure it won't last for long, but it's kind of nice in the meantime. And then the other thing that's going to be really great about a vehicle like the Lightning long term is that those maintenance costs are going to be lower. You're not going to be worrying about oil changes, flushing of the transmission fluid, differential fluid, coolant. Doesn't have any of that because everything is electronic. Now, of course, that brings up the concern about long-term reliability. In general, with most hybrid and electric vehicles to date, that reliability has not been proven to really be that much more unreasonable than a gasoline-powered vehicle, or that much more of a concern. And the warranties that you get on the electric components of the Lightning are far better than the warranty that you get on a similar gasoline-powered vehicle. Battery packs, those components, on a lot of electric vehicles, you're seeing those go up to 8 or 10 years with 100 or 150,000 mile warranty. And so while that is some concern for sure because it's a new technology and electric vehicles haven't really been tried and tested yet, having those warranties take away some of that concern. Last but not least, the Lightning is better for the environment and it's better for the American economy than your typical gasoline-powered vehicle. And I know this one is a little bit controversial, but hear me out. I understand that electric vehicles are not good for the environment. And from that standpoint, I think it's a little bit odd actually that the American government and a lot of state governments are subsidizing electric vehicles because the mining that's involved is very bad for the environment. The carbon footprint on a brand new electric vehicle is far higher than a gasoline powered vehicle. And a lot of electric vehicles are still ultimately being powered by coal power plants and other non-renewables. And so the whole idea of a zero emissions vehicle is total BS. I readily admit that. I still think they're ultimately better for the environment. The reason for that is that over the life cycle of the vehicle, the carbon footprint is lower. And regardless of where you stand on the idea of climate change, I know it's controversial, I think we can all agree that tailpipe emissions are a bad thing. If you are at home and your garage door is closed, you're not going to turn on your gasoline powered vehicle because you're going to die. Likewise, if you're in an urban environment, walking down the street and there's hundreds of gasoline-powered vehicles emitting tailpipe emissions right by your face, that's not good for you. That's not good for your kids. And so having a vehicle with zero tailpipe emissions is better for the health of our urban environments and for our cities. And so I think that's another really great thing about these. The other thing is that ultimately, a lot of power companies are moving more toward those renewable resources, and so we're going to see that improve. But regardless of where you stand on, the use of oil or, coal or clean energy or whatever, the other thing that I think we can all agree on is that if we can use American energy, that's the way to go. And of course, America is a net exporter of oil, but there's a huge need for oil across the world. And if we're using less oil internally, that's just more oil that we can sell as a country so that countries like Saudi Arabia and Russia are having fewer customers and able to sell less of that oil. And so again, regardless of where you stand on that, I think it is a good thing if our total consumption of oil as a country is less. We're using domestic energy that's produced at power plants here in the United States to run electric vehicles. I think that's a huge benefit because then we are able to sell more of that oil to foreign countries that don't need to buy it from aggressive countries like Russia. So in summary, there's a lot to love about the F-150 Lightning, and it is definitely a truck that I would recommend to somebody that's on the fence considering the jump to an all-electric pickup, with the exception of somebody that's traveling really long distances or hauling heavy trailers over long distances and either doesn't have access to charging stations along the way or doesn't have to deal with the inconvenience of stopping and taking a break to allow the truck to recharge. If those are not concerns, this truck still has a lot to offer. It's very impressive in terms of performance, great handling characteristics, especially in inclement driving conditions. It's got a really impressive level of capability. I think that the pricing is really great on the truck for what you're getting, and the cost of ownership should be a lot lower than a similar gasoline powered vehicle. And then of course the impact to the environment as well as the American economy are reasons to consider the F-150 Lightning. Those are my opinions. I also love to hear yours in the comment section below. And for more videos of the F-150 Lightning, be sure to subscribe. In the meantime, thanks for watching.